Good afternoon everyone, how's everyone doing? It is your lads FPL Josh here, and for any of you who are new, my name's Josh. I do FPL content creating, videos, streams, stuff like that, and this is just one of our usual live streams for anyone who's new. Just kick off by saying obviously we had going to do a Game Week 23 review as well as reviewing the Game Week 24 team. We'll look at the transfers I've made. As you can see, there is a certain Alfie Doherty in, but we will get onto that in a bit. That is one of the moves I've made. And then there's another I'm contemplating for a hit. We're also going to talk about the chip strategy with the chips I've got left. I have played my wild card already. The only reason I played it so early is, again, this was just hindsight to set myself up for the double game weeks. And I did play my free hit earlier in the season than I usually would, which I do kind of regret now at this moment in time. But other than that, everything's going fine. And there's nothing wrong. What I will say, guys, is if we do experience a little bit of latency today, it will be down to the weather. But apart from that, everything's looking absolutely fine. What I am going to start by saying is we had a bit of a iffy situation last week with the team. I pulled up the team. Well, I say iffy situation. We had a painful situation. If you lot know my live stream, I benched Foden for Tony. Now, I am going to say this out now, but I don't regret my decision of benching Foden. Because, yes, he's got 20 points, so yes, you'll look at it and think, oh, why didn't I play him? Maybe I should have done that, maybe I shouldn't have done this. But you can't look at that with FPL the way you look at things like anything else. Like, on paper, Tony's on penalties. The odds of Foden scoring a hat-trick are ridiculously low. And I mean ridiculously low. That's his second ever in the Premier League. So the odds of that happening were ridiculously slim. The odds of him starting were a bit slim to a degree as well, so I'm not really annoyed to be benching Foden this week because I still believe on paper that I wouldn't have played Foden over Tony with Tony being on pens. Hi FPL Boo Boo Bro, how are you, mate? So I still think benching Foden, I would have done that either way. Am I annoyed that he got 20 points on my bench? Yeah, it's absolutely freaking ruined my weekend to a degree, but at the same time, would I have made any other decision? I don't think I would have. I would have played Tony either way. I don't think there's a reason I wouldn't play Tony. As for Flecken, I was contemplating it, but again, Flecken had City, Areola had us. Even as a United fan, I didn't think we were going to put 3 past him. And I thought he'd get some decent save points, and it turned out I was wrong. Flecken got a goalkeeper assist, which, again, the goalkeeper assists very, very rarely happen. You'll see maybe 1 or 2 goalkeeper assists this season if we're lucky. But he did make some outstanding saves. The only reason he's in my team generally is for literally the upcoming double, but I'll happily play him against Wolves with the amount of saves he's made just. Obviously, the season's not doing as well as I wanted it to do like normal. We're normally about 250k by this point. Obviously, we are sitting in a bit worse a rank than usual, but that's just been down to a few unlucky benching headaches and a few hits that have gone well, a few that have backfired, just the usual. I'll catch up to my usual point, I reckon, about 100k. I'm not too worried about that at the moment. We've still got another 14 weeks and a lot of chips in play to go. I do think next week I'll be captaining either Erling Haaland, or I might make a play for an Ivan Toney captain as a punt. Yeah, exactly, that's it. Benching goes wrong sometimes, but it wasn't even, I'll be honest with you, it's not even the fact that it went wrong, because yeah, okay, Foden got 20 points, but I'm not going to sit here and absolutely complain, because I say it to everyone every week who comes on here. Don't look at your bench each week and start complaining over why you didn't play this person or why you didn't do that. At the end of the day, I've made a decision to play Tony because the stats were better, the data was better, he's on penalties. The odds of Foden scoring a hat-trick were ridiculously low. The odds of him starting, I didn't even know if he was going to start for 100%. The odds were he was going to start, but yeah, it was just one of them. It was a bit of a few unlucky things where he just ended up being in the right place at the right time. There was no good goals for him. There was all complete and utter tap-ins. He just happened to be in the right moments every single time for the goals. I think 1 went in, I was like, okay, cope with 1. 2 went in, I was like, great. And then 3 went in, I was like, fuck's sake. But that's just what happens. Same with a Stupinan as well. I'll be benching a Stupinan this week, but I do believe he'll be back in the starting lineup Game Week 25. Bradley. Right, with Bradley, I bought him in as a bench defender, so he's not actually a starting defender as Stupinan is, and Pinnock and that, but I just think with Trent coming off last week, early minutes, Bradley was only out of the starting lineup due to family issues as well. I just think he'll slot straight back in that starting lineup for me because he's gonna have to play again. That performance he played, the only reason he wasn't playing last week was because of family issues. So for me, he's going to start this week at right back. Trent's not fully fit. If anything, Trent can play in midfield as well. The performance he had at right back was great. And what's a good game to bench Trent? What's a good game to rest Trent? An easy Burnley game. Liverpool are at home to Burnley. It's a perfect game to bench Trent, rest him up, because he's still not fully fit, and play Bradley. And I'm confident that if he starts, he's going to go and get a goal and assist pretty easily and get a clean sheet. So there's logic behind starting Bradley. I also did Johnny Evans to Doherty this week. The reason I've done Doherty is mainly because he's a bit of a differential, as the low ownership he's got. The data's there, he's returning assists every week. I'm getting him for the Sheffield game at home, which I back Luton to keep a clean sheet and win 2 or 3-0. I back him to get an assist, to be honest with you, or a goal. So there's logic behind Doherty. Why haven't I got any Liverpool attackers? Right, the reasoning behind I haven't got any Liverpool attackers is, one, I'm not really too bothered about not having any Liverpool attackers for the double. Also, I have Richarlison, right? So I could move Richarlison to Jota, but they both blank in 26. Richarlison has a fixture against Wolves at home, and I'll be honest with you, Liverpool have got... Who have Liverpool got in game week 25? Brentford, Luton, right? Okay, Luton aren't playing bad. I would not put it past Luton to keep Liverpool down to a couple of goals. Brentford are at home. They play well at home. You know, Liverpool didn't look all that the other week. And I just think, logically, I don't mind just having one player, because I just think the Spurs game from Richarlison is better than bringing in a Jota or a Diaz for him and wasting a transfer, because I'm going to want Richarlison in the long run anyway. So I just don't see the logic behind it, because I'm going to want him for Crystal Palace, I'm going to want him for Villa, Fulham, then he's got Luton coming up, you know, West Ham, Forest. There's no logic behind selling Richarlison. The only problem is I am going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think it's 7 players I'll have blanking in game week 26. He blanks 26. He does blank 26. But the logic, to be honest, this double was not released when I bought Doughty in. I bought Doughty in mainly because I fancied him the last couple of weeks on the eye test. He's low owned, he's great punt to get on early. Sheffield's a no-brainer. For me, that should be a guaranteed clean sheet. I don't expect Luton to concede a goal at home to Sheffield, because Sheffield have been absolutely terrible. Obviously, he has got us, and then he's got Liverpool. They're both tough games in the double. I'm not expecting a clean sheet, but the way he's picking up assists, the way Luton are picking up goals, and the positions he's getting himself in, and the bonus points and so on he's projecting, I expect him to get a good, at least 10 plus points in the double game week. And I'd expect him to get a clean sheet this week, and maybe even an assist and bonus, so maybe with 12 points. So I thought it was a decent logic with the pump behind him. And then obviously I've got him for the double game week for Crystal Palace and Bournemouth. I think that's a class double game week where Luton could maybe even keep a clean sheet. Villa, again, Aston Villa at home, I wouldn't even mind playing him in that game. Forest at home, I don't mind playing him in that game. Then it'll just be a case of, if I've still got him, benching him and then moving him out. But I probably won't have him at that point anyway. So he's just like short to long term pick. Right, about free hit, and I'm gonna say this because I've been playing this game for God knows how long now, nearly 6 years. This is the first time ever that I have used a free hit early in the season, so I haven't got my free hit, because this is the first season ever that I used my free hit early. There was logic behind it. Did it pay off? To a degree. And there was logic behind it. It was the week where flipping Rodri got a red card there when Alvarez and Doku and that come off. So my ceiling probably would have been about 100 plus, and I got 80 odd. So in reality it paid off, because to be honest with you, I'm going to manage the doubles, I'm going to manage the blanks, I'm going to be able to manage everything with the way I've set my team up. So me not having a free hit's not really a big deal. If you have got your free hit, my advice personally, if I still had my free hit, I would probably use it in game week 29. Personally. Because that's the week where you've got no Saka, no Chelsea assets, no Arsenal assets. You know, you want to triple up on Spurs, you want to triple up on Brentford, you want to triple up on Villa. You know, you want to get a really strong team for 29. Now, obviously, if City's still in the equation, you'll have triple City and 2 Villa. But that'll just depend whether City's not blank in 29 or not, because we don't know what the fixtures are like yet. But at the moment, for me, if I was going to use a free hit, it would be 29. And my triple captaincy is debatable. It's most likely going to be on Haaland 25, but it could possibly be Solanke 28 for the double. So there is a few options. I'm also looking at a punt for if Luton don't blank in if Luton do not blank in 29, then there's a possibility that I'll move Ollie Watkins to Adebayo in 28 for a punt. There's a possibility I'll do that for the double game week, just as a punt. As that's if Luton's scoring the way they're scoring. That's if he's still playing in form. It'll just be loads of factors, but if he's still playing well, that double game week looks really nice for Adebayo. And I think if you want to bring in a cheap bench striker or someone to replace Archer, I think Adebayo or Carlton Morris are a really good punt. Even Ross Barkley as well, because they've got 2 double game weeks coming up, Luton. So you're essentially getting an extra 2 weeks, because you'd have the single weeks, but you're getting 2 doubles. You got decent captain's opportunity possibly, but it's doubtful anyone will captain them anyway. Yeah, game week 37 or game week 34 is usually when I use my bench boost, but normally it's game week 37 because it gives me enough time, considering I've already used my wild card, it gives me enough time to make the transfers and build my team up ready for 37. And then going into 37, 38, the last games of the season, that's when I'll just literally throw any differential I like straight in the squad and I'll go all out. So 37 for me, yeah, that's when I bench boost. Because that's the week where you're going to throw all your differentials into one team. You're going to go all out. You're going to have as many double game weekers as you can, and you're just going to go all out. Because whatever team you've got 38 is irrelevant. Everyone's got a crap team on the last game week. Getting it nailed for 37 is very important. So yeah, that's when I'll be using my bench boost. The 34 is decent, but yeah, I can't see it being as good as 37. So we'll see. I mean, to be fair, last year game week 37's double game week was absolutely terrible. So we'll see. It will really depend. What I am going to say is, I will be moving Salah back in if there's a double for Liverpool, which there will be. But I won't be bringing him in, obviously, for this double, because he's not back yet from the injury and so on. But yeah, I believe... Yeah, they've got the double. I was going to say, I can't remember if they've updated it yet. But yeah, no, I'm not bringing in another Liverpool player. The only reasoning for me to do that would maybe do Watkins to Nunes, but there's no logic behind that because Watkins is playing Fulham in 25, and Nunes might not even play both games full minutes. Watkins again, Fulham, he could score a load of goals. I'm going to want him for Forest, I'm going to want him for Luton, so I'm going to have to bring him back in. He's really high owned at the moment. It'll kill my rank gains. I don't really like Nunes, and I'll have another blank player to deal with in 26. So there's my logic for you behind not going for another Liverpool asset, is mainly just that reasoning of I don't need to deal with another blank player. Because I'll have 7 to 8 playing in 26, and I'll have 2 free transfers to maybe bring in another 2 players if I decide to move a couple out. So I could probably have 9 or 10. So yeah, there's logic behind it. I've got a fair few doublers for next week though. Well, 25. I've got a fair few doublers because I've got. Well, let's run through the team logically. Pedro Porro will be benched. Pinnock will play because he's got a double. Flecken will play. Doughty will play. Bradley will play. There's 4 double game weekers. I've got De Bruyne, Haaland, Foden. There's 7. I've got Tony playing. There's 8. Palmer and for me. The reason I've had Tony since I wildcarded a couple of weeks ago, I've had him before anyone's even touched him and he's still low owned. The reason I'd buy Tony over Nunes, I know Nunes is on pens the same as Tony, but what you've got to look about it is, would you rather have 2 fixtures of Nunes or 3 fixtures of Tony? They've both got a double, they're both on penalties. Tony's come into the team and he started playing well again. That's my logic. And they're at home to Liverpool. Brentford at home, I think will beat Liverpool, if I'm being honest. I think Brentford at home are really strong. I know they lost to City, but everyone loses to Man City, so that's pretty irrelevant. And I just think Brentford at home. Bear in mind, there was away to the Etihad as well the other week, and Tony still had like 3 or 4 great chances, and he should have scored. He should have got the assist for the Morpay thing, but he just missed out on touching the ball. So yeah, I do think Tony's the better option because he's Brentford's main player. You know, he's on penalties. He's a bonus point magnet. He's guaranteed 90 minutes a game. Nunes isn't guaranteed 90 minutes a game. We know what Klopp's like. He might get benched a week. Especially in the double if they're managing minutes with cup games and that. But yeah, I'm not saying... This is what I'll say to everyone. Buy Tony, buy Nunes, your decision. I'll give you my opinion. But I'm not right about everything, and I say this to everyone. So don't come to me complaining if something backfires. I say it to everyone. For me, I'm 90% confident Tony's a better pick over Nunes. But again, that's my opinion. You know what I mean? And I have my reasons behind it, and I'm happy with my reasons behind it because I'm getting 3 fixtures out of him. Everyone else is going to get 2. Have to deal with another blank player. He's low owned. He's still a differential. He's on penalties. And in the last 3 weeks I've owned him, I'm pretty happy with them returning to 20 points in the last 3 weeks. That's a 6.6, 4.5 average. I'm trying to work that out in my head. But yeah, he's doing pretty well. Well to the point that I would even consider captaining him in game week 26. I don't know who Haaland's got 26, but... Okay, Bournemouth, ignore me then. I didn't realise it was Bournemouth. I thought it was Man United this week after. Let me read that 1 second, give me a minute. Martinez, Martinez in goal with Ariel at bench. Stupinan, Gusto, Gabriel, Taylor from Burnley, Porro, Saka, Palmer, Foden, Diego Jota, Gordon, Watkins, Jesus and Haaland. What's Arsenal's fixtures? Yeah, that's a tough one, that. You've still got Saka though, I suppose, for coverage. Gabriel's not bad. Gusto's, yeah. How many transfers have you got? 1 free transfer, 1.2 in the bank. Okay. What you can do is you could do Jesus to Tony this week and then move another player out next week to a double game week player. Or you could keep Jesus for this week, roll both the transfers because I have got West Ham, Arsenal have this week. So you could just keep Jesus, roll both the transfers into next week, then move Tony in for Jesus, and then I would probably do Areola Martinez to Flecken, or Gusto or Taylor to Pinnock, Ben Mee, or who else? Who's the new attacking for who's playing attacking fullback for Brentford now? What's his name? Reguilon. Reguilon's a good pick for the double as well. So all you could do, Jesus to Tony this week, and then bring in either a Brentford defender or a Brentford goalkeeper next week for the double, or a City goalkeeper or defender. You can do either one of them. Even bringing the Luton keeper in for Areola on your reserves isn't a bad punt because you're going to have a keeper on the bench spot anyway, whether he blanks in game week 26 or not, which he does, but you're going to have a keeper on the bench spot anyway. That would have been Areola. And this way you're getting another double game week player out. Plus he's going to have 2 upcoming double game weeks. And the Luton keeper versus Sheffield this week is probably not a bad play. So if I was you, what I'd probably do is do Areola to the Luton keeper this week, play Jesus, and then move Jesus to Tony next week. And I play the Luton keeper. That's what I'd do. Or bring in like Alfie Doherty like I've done. because you're essentially stocking up on 2 double game weeks. But with doing Areola out to the Luton keeper, you're going to have to bench one of your keepers anyway, and you're going to bench the one who blanks, which will be Areola. Not Areola, but you'll play Martinez anyway because of Fulham. So my logic is you're getting an extra double game week player. It's up to you, but I think doing Areola out to the Luton keepers not a bad idea. They've got Sheffield. He'll get a clean sheet this week. He's better than Martinez against us, especially considering we're scoring ridiculous amounts of goals at the minute. So he won't keep a clean sheet this week. Villa look terrible. And I'm not even being a biased Man United fan, but Villa are terrible. So I'd probably bring in the Luton keeper or bring in Alfie Doherty this week, and then bring Tony in next week, because I don't think holding Jesus for West Ham this week is a bad idea. I could see Tony and Jesus both returning this week. And Arsenal's goals threat is slightly higher. West Ham defence lately is terrible. So it might be just a case of holding Jesus this week, because it's probably going to be a week where he's going to return. And even if Tony returns and Jesus does, it doesn't really affect your rank. And bringing in an extra double game week player and then just bringing Tony in next week is a logical decision. So I just hold Jesus probably for this week, see how he plays. Should I bring in Foden or Ross Barkley? Elazar, if you can make me that question a bit more detailed to who you're bringing them in for, then that'll make it easier for me to answer the question. But it'll depend who you're bringing them in for. It's a tough one because Foden has got a great double game week for Man City. Go back on the team. Foden's got a great double game week for Man City. Really, really nice double game week against Chelsea and Brentford. And they're both home games. But Ross Barkley has 2 double game weeks coming up. But my advice for you, if you're going to bring one in, it would probably just bring Foden in now. And then you can always bring in an Alfie Doherty, like I've done. But I'd probably bring in Foden for Anthony Gordon, yeah. I'd bring in Foden. As much as Luton's got 2 great upcoming doubles, and I like Ross Barkley, it just depends if you want to go different or you want to go with the grain. It depends what your rank's looking like, your points looking like, how safe you want to play, but Foden's probably the play for me, to be honest, in that situation. I do like Ross Barkley, though. I really do like Ross Barkley. I don't think it's a bad shout at all. Apologies, lads, I just want a drink. But yeah, if you want to put your whole team in, Elzar, then I can have a look at your full team and I can recommend some transfers. If I know what budget you've got and who you've got in your team and so on, I can recommend some stuff. But yeah, for me, it'll be Foden. I'm just going to have a look at the... what's it? By the way, boys, is anyone doing any different captains next week? Because I know I'm going to probably be on Haaland because I'm a template son of a bitch, but is anyone else doing any interesting captaincies? You just put that in the chat the minute I was talking. Yeah, I'm probably going to be a Haaland captain. Yeah. I know he's been slightly disappointing the last couple. I just think Everton at home, he's going to get back into stride. And I think he's going to be the week where he starts picking his goals up. If he doesn't prove a point to me this week and perform and show me that he's playing well, then I'm going to triple captain Solanke in 28. I'm not going to triple captain Haaland 25. I think I'll see how he plays this week. Captain Jota, it's not a bad play. Yeah, Jota's not a bad play. As long as he starts, it's a decent play. Yeah, Jota's not a bad captain, I don't think. I think Saka's not a bad captain this week. I know people are drifting off him, but he's been pretty consistent the last couple of weeks. And the way West Ham's been defended, it's not a bad play. If Arsenal was at home, I'd probably be captaining Saka over Haaland, but I just don't like Arsenal away. I really don't. I think they're terrible away. So the logic is for me to go Haaland this week. Possibility of a De Bruyne, because he's picking up the assists every week. I mean, I got on the De Bruyne train when he was 10% owned. Now he's 31% owned. I got him straight away on my wildcard here for the 12 point, and I've had him since, so I kind of got a little bit of oomph early before everyone started getting onto him. So that was nice. Come off the bench for 23 minutes and got me 12 points. Who you captain anyway, FPL Viewer? Who you captain? Quite interesting to see what everyone's captaining this week. I know Haaland's not going to be as template as it used to be. I am going to read your team now. One sec, pal. I am going to read your team. Right, I will look at your team now. Sorry, I was just doing something. I was just checking some data on the phone for the eye test, but let me have a look. So, you're playing Areola in goal with Trippier, Gomez, Sanarsi, Palmer, Jota, Richarlison, Gross, Haaland, Cunha, Watkins, Bentis, Turner, Gordon, Zinchenko and Taylor. Right, looking at your team, yeah. Gordon to Foden's fine for that lineup. I had Cunha for ages, I had Cunha literally for ages until my last wildcard because he was just great. He was getting me points every single week and I still think he'll score every week for Wolves. I think he's really underrated, Cunha, is this season. I think the fact that no one's got him is hilarious because he gets assists or goals every week. He's a merchant for it. I mean, I might be a biased United fan, but I'm just going to say it now. I think I've said it since the start of the whole FPL season that Garnacho is a good asset when he's having his good games. And the only reason I love Garnacho, but the only reason I won't buy him, I can forward you my Discord, BB, but I haven't got Twitter loaded up. I can forward you my Discord and I'll put it in the Discord later. Let me just sort that out. I'll forward the Discord link in the chat for you all, and then I'll put my Twitter in that later when I get a chance. Just let me paste the link. Right, the Discord link's in the chat for you. Too biased. Too biased. Oh no, I'm not being biased because I'm a United fan. I'm not starting Watkins because I'll be honest with you. Do I want to play Watkins over Palmer? No. Do I want to play Watkins over Richarlison? No. I ain't gonna play him over Saka or Tony. There's no one to play Watkins over. The fixtures are better for everyone else. They're all equally as good as Watkins. So I ain't gonna play Watkins because, biased or not, I don't care if you're gonna call me a biased United fan. We will not concede more than one goal against Villa. I don't care what anyone says. We won't concede we won't concede any more than one goal. Watkins lately is getting assists. He's not really a bonus point magnet. I know he had a good week last week. Fair enough. But he doesn't do it every week. He's really inconsistent of lately. I only really like him when he's playing weak teams. Villa last night against Chelsea were not impressive whatsoever. You expect Villa to be going and beating Chelsea a comfy 2-3-0. You don't expect them to be losing 3-1. So, me, off the eye test, I didn't like him last night, so I'm not starting him. It's not even anything to do with bias. He's just not the best option to start. I have anyone in my team, so that's the reason I'm not playing him. I don't think he's a better option than Tony, because Tony's on pens against Wolves. So I don't think Watkins is a better option. Because Watkins ain't even on pens anymore, it's Douglas Luiz, so I don't see any reason to play him over Tony. There's no logic behind it. And I don't care if Watkins returns on my bench, because I'll be making the same decision either way. There's no logic behind playing him, so I'm not going to play him. But yeah, that's based in my decision analyzer, so that's it. It's not biased at all. It's just FPL knowledge that I've accumulated over nearly 6 years now. So I know pretty much what I'm doing with my team each week. And I do make different decisions to everyone else, and you got your own opinions, fair enough. The only worthwhile at United is Garnacho. I know. Even as a United fan, I know Garnacho is good. I've said it since the start of the season. But what I will say is, people buying him, it's a hype train. Garnacho is good for us, and I'll tell you this straight as a United fan, he's good. But he's not consistent. He's not consistent whatsoever. He will have good games where he goes and scores 2 goals and he gets a goal and an assist and gets a 10-pointer and everyone's like, okay, he's doing just as well as Partner. But he's not. He's not consistent enough for us week in, week out. Majority of the weeks he'll blank. He'll play really well in the game, but he won't pick up a goal or assist. Most of the time, the shots and the assists are coming through Bruno Fernandes at the minute. So for me, Bruno Fernandes is a better asset than Garnacho. But Garnacho's a cheap enabler for your bench option, and then you bring him on some games and he'll get you 10 points. So Garnacho's still good. I just think it's a hype train for people bringing him in if you think you can start him every week and he's going to return, because he's not. He returned a couple of maybe 3 times in 10 weeks. He returned, and there you go. There's no bias whatsoever from me as a United fan. I think he's great. He's one of my favourite players on the team. Like, he's just not consistent whatsoever. He will have these good blow-off games, and then he'll go and play crap against Villa on the weekend. It's just the usual typical stuff we get from us. We'll play a high defensive line on the weekend, especially away from home. It'll be a tight game. It'll probably be a 2-1 United. We may draw 1-1 with Villa, but Villa won't get more than 1 goal past us. I can't see it. Especially with Maguire and Martinez back in defence, Casemiro's back in midfield. You know, he's like Rodri for Man City. The minute we've got him in that midfield, the whole team plays 10 times better. And you've noticed that the last 3 games that we've won in a row, the minute Casemiro's been back in the team, it's been 10 times better. Bench Jesus or Gordon. I love Kobbie Mainoo. Sorry, baby, I will answer your question. I love Kobbie Mainoo, but he's not an FPL asset. He's not a goal scorer. He's not an assist player. He's not a, you know, I'm going to get goals and assists and FPL points. He's a class player, just like Casemiro is a class player, but they're not an FPL option. So that's pretty much the question answered. Bench Jesus or Gordon? Gordon. Bench Gordon. Yeah, I'd bench Gordon. I prefer Jesus this week. But yeah, I'd bench Gordon. There's still a little bit of doubt about Gordon as well. And I don't believe Newcastle have got the greatest of fixtures this week, have they? No. Bench Gordon. I'll tell you now, Nottingham Forest at home are no pushovers. They're really, really, really good at home. That'll be a really tight game. They'll be both playing really, really defensively. It'll be a 1-1 game, maybe 2-1 Forest. It'll be a really tight game. I don't think Gordon's going to get any opportunities really in that game against that Forest defence, so I'd be playing Jesus all day of the week over Gordon for me. It's your decision, but for me, I'd be playing Jesus. But go with whatever your gut says. That's what I always do. I go with my gut. My gut's telling me to play someone or captain someone, then I will. Just logical. There's data, and then there's the gut feeling. Braithwaite for a long time now. He seems like a great asset. I'll be honest with you guys, unless you're somehow a biased Everton fan, no Everton asset's a great asset. No Everton player is a great asset. No one. Inconsistent returns. Won't be getting clean sheets in the next 6 to 7 weeks. Their defence is still poor. Everton are not a good asset. Everton players aren't a good asset whatsoever for me. One, Eliza. No offence, but that shows a little bit of football knowledge right there. Yes, Luton are having a good spell. Okay, fair enough. Yes, they've just gone and drawn 4-4 with Newcastle. So what? That doesn't change the fact that Newcastle are a good team. Doesn't change the fact that Brighton are a good team because Brighton lost to Luton. Every team has a good spell, every team has a bad spell. Newcastle are still one of the best teams in the whole entire league, in the top 6 by any margin whatsoever. I'd even argue, even as a United fan, there's no bias for me, they're playing better than we are this season. So, you can't sit there, no offence, and slag Newcastle off just because they drew to Luton. So what? Brighton lost 4-0 to Luton, and they went and won 4-1 the week after. You know, Newcastle still beat Villa 3-1. Newcastle are a cracking team with cracking players and will win games. They just struggle against highly defensive teams. And Nottingham Forest is a highly defensive team. So I think Newcastle are terrible assets for this game week to play them. But I think in the upcoming game weeks they're still great assets. And I'll still be looking to bring Newcastle players in my team in the future within the next 3 to 4 weeks. So I don't think there's a valid point saying Newcastle are terrible just because they've lost to Luton. That's like saying Sheffield United are the worst team in the league, which they are, just because they lost to Aston Villa. There's no logic behind it whatsoever. No logic behind that. Especially considering Newcastle in the top 6. There's no logic behind that whatsoever. Right, even if Newcastle had the full starting lineup, they would struggle against Forest. United, Arsenal, City, Liverpool. Everybody struggles at the City ground against Nottingham Forest. Everyone. I know. I've been to that ground. I've watched matches tons and tons of times at the City ground. The atmosphere, the crowd, the team, the way they play at the City ground defensively, the way they defend, the way they play that really, really defensive press is ridiculous. And that team will pick up about 16, 18 fouls a game. Ryan Yates, every week, will get 3 or 4 fouls. But they don't concede many goals. I don't care what anyone says about Forest, they don't concede many goals. They never get battered 4 5-0. I mean, look at this. They was at the City ground against Arsenal, who's one of the top teams in the league. They barely, and I mean just barely, lost 2-1. It should have been 2-2. And the goals they conceded, one was from a free kick, one was from a header. Set piece goals. They're the only ones they conceded. Didn't concede any out of the box, didn't concede any shots, didn't concede any cuttings, didn't concede any, bouters from outside the line. Nothing. Because the defence was good. So I don't think that punt's justifiable. It's not shocking though. It's the Premier League. It's not shocking that these teams have got the better of Newcastle. I'll give you reasons why. Luton, that was a fluke. Everton, that was a fluke. Fair enough. Nottingham Forest are playing really good football. Then beating Newcastle, they was just a better team. Not because Newcastle are bad, they was just good on the day. Bournemouth have had an amazing run of form of late. They've been battering teams. They even battered us, United, and they put to bed Newcastle. They nearly put to bed Liverpool. So I wouldn't justify saying Bournemouth are terrible either. Bournemouth played really well and Newcastle deserved to lose. So Newcastle aren't terrible at the minute. I can justify 3 of them teams there that beat Newcastle fair and square. The other 2 were fluky games where Newcastle had an off game. And I'm not even a Newcastle fan, so you can't say there's any bias in this. But when someone comes in and says Newcastle are a bad team, that's a joke. That's like saying Man City are a bad team or Liverpool are a bad team. They're not. It's like saying Villa are terrible because they lost 3-1 to Chelsea last night when everyone expected them to win. It happens, it's football. You do have fluke results. You do have games where teams don't play well. You do have games where your players are having an off day. That happens, it's football. Newcastle had an off day last week. They'll bounce back at some point, they will, because they do. And they will finish top 6. I'm 90% sure Newcastle will finish top 6. So, whether going around saying they're terrible or not, it doesn't matter, We've had a terrible spell this season. City's had a terrible spell this season, believe it or not. And Liverpool has. Every team in that top 6 or 7 have had a terrible spell this season. But they're still picking up points. So yeah, they might have a terrible spell, but they're still top 6 in the league. It doesn't matter how bad you're playing if you're still in that top 6. That's the way I look at it. You can be playing terrible. If you finish top 6, still a good achievement season in, season out. Especially top 4. So yeah, I wouldn't say Newcastle are playing bad at all. I know they have dropped points recently. I know that. I know they are 5 points behind us now, but I still think Newcastle will pick it up and finish in the top 6. I still think that. Chelsea's a different story. Chelsea, I'll be straight up. I might get demonetised for this, but Chelsea ain't just bad. Chelsea are fucking shit. I'll say it as clear as day. No one else will on here. No one else will on the streams, but I'll say it as clear as day. They're fucking shit. That's just it. The defensiveness has been terrible. They played well last night, to be fair to them. They played really well last night. But they are just scoring and then conceding tons of goals. The only reason they won last night was because Villa just had an off game. Chelsea are just bad, but Chelsea have been bad the last 4 or 5 years. There's no excusing with Chelsea. They've spent over $1 billion and they're still terrible. There's no logic behind that Chelsea team. They won an FA Cup game again. FA Cup, flukes happen in the FA Cup. FA Cup, no one really cares about the FA Cups. Did I expect them to beat Villa last night? Hell no. Not at all. But again, happens, doesn't it? You get these fluky games in football. You also said Reece James and Chilwell consistently would be better defensively. They've had Chilwell recently for like the last 6 games. He's been terrible. That throw-in last night, that false throw, was like watching a Sunday League game. Reece James is always injured. Even when he plays, I think he's highly overrated. He's inconsistent. I even think Gusto's better than him, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think Gusto's a great up-and-coming talent, and I think he's better than Reece James. I really do. I think Reece James is well past his prime. I just don't think he's got as much left in him. And I know it's stupid to say because he's only like 28. But I just don't think he's nowhere near as good as he was 3 or 4 years ago. Nowhere near. And I think with this consistent injuries and this consistent every single year, he's going to retire at some point. Let me see how good football. You trying to justify things? Okay, now I'm getting there's something here. You're a Chelsea fan because you wouldn't be asking all these questions if you wasn't. I don't think they will be better defensively. If they take a Carabao Cup from Liverpool, to be honest, I don't care who wins the Carabao Cup over Liverpool or Chelsea. I say this every year. Domestic cups, they're domestic cups. Carabao Cup, EFL Cup. You know, the only important trophies are the Champions League and the Premier League. I'm a United fan. We won the Carabao Cup a couple of years ago. Did I care about it the other season? No. It's not waffle. I have my opinion. If you don't like it, then fine. That's fine. And I never said Gusto was better than James. I said Gusto is better currently than James, and he's a great up-and-coming player who's going to be better than James in the future. That was my exact words. And I stick to that because I think that's right. I think Gusto's been brilliant. There's no reason to diss Gusto whatsoever. He's been absolutely brilliant in that Chelsea team. And I don't think it's got anything to do with him why you're conceding goals. I think the reason you're conceding goals is absolutely terrible defenders like Disasi. Disasi's terrible. Yes, he's strong. Yes, he's quick. Yes, he can keep the quick players out. But his absolute defending skills are horrific. I think getting rid of Conor Gallagher for Chelsea getting rid of Conor Gallagher is a big mistake because I think Conor Gallagher's been absolutely brilliant this season. I think he's been better than Moises Caicedo's been this season, and Caicedo cost, what, 115 million? And Conor Gallagher's been 10 times better for me. All Caicedo does is pick up 2-3 fouls a game, get booked, make a few decent tackles, that's about it. He never gets good in the game, he never does anything really, he makes a few loose passes a game because he can't pass a parcel. And that's the honest truth. And they say even me having a dig at Chelsea, I'll have a dig at Newcastle, I'll have a dig at any team, even my own team, because there's players who are terrible. I can name loads of players in the league right now who are overpriced. Anthony, waste of money. Caicedo, waste of money. Who else is a waste of money? Daniolo for bloody Villa. He was a waste of money. I don't like him at all. There's loads of players in the league right now who are waste of money. Jackson, I'm still 50-50 on. I still don't think he could hit a cam in the arse with a shovel. And the only goals he can score is the goals that are literally well close to the goal and header goals and stuff like that. I don't think he's an out-and-out striker, for me. I think maybe he'll pick up... I don't think he's an out-and-out striker. People who I think were brilliant buyers for the rest of the season are Højlund. I don't care what anyone says. The last 4 games, he's shown he's an out-and-out striker. He's shown he's better than a lot of strikers in the league by a long shot. And if he keeps his form up, I think we'll have an Erling Haaland contender on our hands next season. Because I think Højlund is really starting to show form. Like Nunes has picked up form, Højlund's picked up form. So I think Højlund this year will get at least 16 goals and finish next season with about 25 plus. Pretty comfortably. I think it'll be when he'll start picking up now. Because every week in, week out, he's getting his confidence, he's getting his eye for goal, he's doing what you know expect him to do. We know he's a good striker, we know he's a good finisher, it's just a case of him settling in. But we know by far he's one of the best finishers in the world. He's just really taking time to settle in. Yeah, I was talking about Adebayo's recent form earlier. And how I would not mind bringing Adebayo in game week 28 for the double game week. I wouldn't bring him in 25 because the fixtures are a bit tough. But game week 28, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, if he's still playing well, and if he's on penalties, then I'll bring him in. Without a doubt. Sorry, without a doubt. Without a doubt. If he's on penalties, then I'll bring him in. Because He looks amazing for that GW28 fixture. He's not a bad punt to bring in this week because I've got Sheffield United, and you got him for the double. So he's not a bad player to bring in, to be honest, as an alternative to like Nunes and that. What are we on now? 45. Right, boys. I'm going to be on now, lads, for another 5 minutes. So if anyone wants to get all your questions in, anything you need answering before I get off now, boys, that'd be absolutely amazing. Because we are nearly at the time limit for the stream today, because I have got a podcast I've got to record after this. So if anyone's got any transfer questions or any help with anything, you want to get them in now before I get off. That'd be absolutely brilliant. Because like I just said, I've got a podcast to record after this. And I've got to go and do a football interview. Right, definitely, I don't think City are up there in the Prem. Defensively, City are good defensively. Like, they've got good defenders, they just don't keep clean sheets. Like I say, no matter when you look at City's defensiveness, any year, they've always been iffy defensively, always conceded loads of goals, but they always win games 3-1, 2-1, 4-1, so I think with City there's not really anything to look at because, okay, yeah, defensive assets are terrible. We've known this for the past 3 seasons of FPL. The defensive assets are terrible. That's why you never see me go for a defensive asset in my team for Man City. Why people think putting Edison or Ake or anyone like that is logical, I don't know, because they will concede a goal every single game. Whether it's against Luton, Bournemouth, Sheffield United, I don't care who they're against, Man City will manage to concede a goal. They always do. I mean, the other day, Burnley, 3-1. They conceded on the 92nd minute. They always manage to concede a goal. Always do. Right, we've got 4 minutes, lads. So if you want to get your questions in, like I say now, any transfer news you need help with, I'm going to get as many things answered as I can before I get off. We will have another stream tomorrow as well for the deadline. Well, I think it's not deadline tomorrow, but is it? I haven't checked actually. No. Deadline's Saturday, but I won't be able to do the deadline Saturday, so I'll do the deadline stream tomorrow. I think we're good. Don't look like any more questions coming in. We've got one more. Hey, look, like I say to everyone else, go with your gut. You know, I might be a moron benching Watkins and you might be right. Or I might be absolutely incredible, it's up to you. But I'm benching Watkins this week, no matter what. Like I say to everyone every week, make your decisions with you. Don't let me influence your decisions. I'll give you advice, but don't let me influence your decision. Whoever you think's the best pick, play him. Because like everyone, like Harry will say, like Ross will say, like Fogel will play, like Oscar will say, like I'll say every week. Don't come back to me if something goes wrong and start complaining and saying you made me do this or you made me do that and blaming people. If I recommend a transfer, then I recommend it. Either take my advice or don't, but it's still your decision. So bench Watkins or play Watkins, up to you. But make sure it's your decision, I'm not influencing that. I do think Watkins benching is the best option out of the two, but it's completely your decision. But I personally, I'm benching Watkins this week. Right. Seems we are out of time, lads, so seems you've got the last questions in, so I'm just going to say now, I am going to link the Discord link for you all before we get off. I'm not too sure about United defensively. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think we'll be fine defensively, but again, we're great defensively, and Leach is still fine. Leacher is fine, by the way. Just to clarify that, it was barely a strain. Leach is fine. Right, it seems we're concluded for time. The Discord link's in the chat. I will be able to speak to you all in Discord. If anyone wants to get in that Discord now, just drop me a message on the Discord. Again, I'll be free any time of the day for that. I'm going to go record the podcast and get some other stuff sorted for the week, as well as data and analytics. So I am going to see you boys tomorrow around 1 PM UK time. We're going to start the live and it'll finish about 3 o'clock. Maybe start about 12:30. I'll let everyone know in the Discord is in the Discord what time we're going to start the live, as well as put a reminder up on here. So yeah, I'll see you boys tomorrow. It's been a great one. Absolutely pleasure having you all as usual, and I hope you all have an